So buy cheap and rent high using short-term rental strategy. So look, in this video I want to talk to you, if you're new to this channel, I'm going to talk to you about who am I, how many properties we've worked with, recent client scenarios. I've worked with Nikki, who owns a property, and how we've turned her property into a high cash flowing product. We've worked with somebody in Leeds before, where we know we've made them over £1,200 net profit on one single one-bed apartment, and many more clients all over the UK right now who are turning or buying cheap properties and then turning them into short-term rental as a part of strategy for higher cash flow. So guys, firstly, if you're new to this channel, my name is Piers. I am from GrowYourBnb.com. Now, before we start this video, let me show you some of the showcase video that we've previously worked in. So working with over 1,900 properties all over the world, right? We've worked in Dubai, we've worked in Spain, we've worked in major parts of the UK, client ranging from one properties all the way to 150 properties and management companies. We want to share you some of the crucial part on how you can find what we call cheaper properties in the UK, and then or anywhere in the world really. If you're in the United States, where can you find something much more affordable? And then rather than renting it out as an ASD or a family home, you can then turn it into a short-term rental property with the right strategy to get you some higher cash flow. Right, now let's talk about 3 things while you're buying how to buy a cheap property. Now firstly, research on the area. Now if you're new to this channel, look, I've done so many videos previously where you can watch me actually going into Rightmove, looking at certain properties in a certain way for short-term rental purchases, also using estate agents on how you can actually communicate with them. But in this video, I want to talk about researching your investment area. Reality is that you can go into Rightmove, filter down. Now it doesn't matter where you are or what country you are, you have a platform there. All you need to do is filter down, look at the budget you want to spend. Let's say right now 100,000 is what we want to invest in one property to turn it into a short-term rental property itself. Look, in the UK there is plenty of location right now where you can buy properties between 100 to 130, 120,000 pounds, and to turn them into extremely high level cash flow properties. However, firstly, understanding or researching your area is absolutely vital. Secondly, think about checking the listing. Now, when a lot of people are looking at listing, there's 2 things you can do, right? Number 1, what I said about research. Number 2, about checking the listing. You can open that property in Rightmove, let's say, or whatever investment property companies that you're looking at. You then open exactly the same on Airbnb, zoom in with dates after or around the 3 months period from now. So the chances are you're basically gonna see more properties in Airbnb which is unbooked in 3 months time from now, which means you just need to match the map, right? Now, once you start matching the map, you will see if that investment area property that you've seen, and in Airbnb you see a couple of, let's say 10 properties in that 1 mile radius, look at their reviews on Airbnb, look at how they're performing, look at the types of guest reviews they've got. It will then give you an indication of if that property is actually going to work or not, because purely if you keep an eye on that listing for the next, let's say 4 weeks, see how they're performing in their calendar, keep an eye on those 10 listings, save them somewhere. All of a sudden you are now looking at a single property. You're also then looking at an individual listing in that investment area very close, and what you're doing is you're matching the requirement. That also gives you a lot more confidence because you're now doing market due diligence based on facts. And the last one is negotiating on listing. Like with everything, when you're buying properties, a lot of time people get emotionally attached and they're generally looking at investing a lot, or if they like that property, they will then start going asking above the asking price. What I would like you to do is negotiate on that listing, making sure that you understand the listing pretty well. So look, a client of mine in Hull, and I think this is where Victor has been an amazing client. He obviously, we've had the ups and downs of him launching property. There was a delay in perspective of him setting up. Now that's a whole different story behind how operators have to rely on furniture delivery and everything to get them right to launch their property. However, we launched it at the end. Now, in a perspective so that you understand why, knowing that is pretty much important, is look, break even number on this property, mortgage, £320. His council tax eventually hopefully turns into business rate, but is currently sitting around £120. His utilities right now we're looking around £200 a month. He's got Wi-Fi, which is about 35, and no further expenses or fixed expenses on that property. So all in all, we're looking for achieving £675 to break even his property. Now, if you're on a nutshell, when I first spoke to him and I asked him one question, he went, Victor, what do you think is your nightly rate going to be? He said anywhere between £100 to £120 per night. Now, that is purely based on the research that he's just looked online, looked at other people in the area, looked at somebody he knew was running a short-term rental in that area. And do you know what? Actually, he was right. That is the case. However, I always think about how can you make sure that you are fully booked as well as you're achieving a certain nightly rate. Again, if you watch my previous video, I'll talk about profit. So in this case, I said to Victor, right now, your main focus should be achieving £1,000 net profit from a property he's bought at an extremely cheap price. So all of a sudden now we're looking at making a £12,000 on net profit for the year. Do you know what? Actually, his first booking came off booking.com for 7 nights and the customers renewed it for 4 weeks. We certainly looked at some figures and he was sitting anywhere up to £1,200 net profit on that weekly booking based on, less management hassle. We created a brand, obviously Booking.com and Airbnb, when we first launch it, they've got the most power because they get you seen to the whole world. And eventually he found a customer that's eventually paying him a lot more profit than he thought he would achieve. Now, if you're new to short-term rental, service accommodation, Airbnb, vacation rental, whatever you call it, or wherever you're in the world, it's exactly the same process. You're buying a property in the cheapest way possible and then re-letting it out as a short-term rental property, as in people who wants to book with you for a few days, sometimes it could be month, depending on a solution that's going to be it's not going to be a family home, it's not going to be an actual contract for rental, which is going to be like a family home, or what we call in the UK the ASD market. What we're looking for is people who can let with you short-term, paying you higher rental as well as nightly rates depending on what your strategy is. So firstly, how do you go about achieving high rents on your properties as a short-term rental? The first thing I've seen in a lot of time people looking at is they do not know their nightly rates. That is the first thing I would suggest. You need to understand the nightly rate process. And again, if you've watched some of my videos previously, the nightly rates are as easy to be found. You can just open Airbnb, booking.com, look at the street that you're investing in. There might be somebody within that 1 mile radius and you can see what they're charging. Definitely go and look at their reviews because it will give you a better understanding of the types of guests you've got. And the second way to achieve the high nightly rate is by utilizing what I call the 2 major platforms, which is Airbnb and booking.com. If you have no branding strategy, but also to understand that you can create your own brand. A lot of time when people are busy buying property, they're not looking to start a short-term rental business. What they're effectively doing is they're going, Piers, I just want to buy a property as a part of my investment. I just want to rent it out on a high nightly rate or profit. The reality is you can go and start building your brand, but eventually it will need a lot more focus than just putting it live on Airbnb and booking.com. So in a nutshell, it does not matter where you're investing in the world. What you are looking at is buying or finding locations with extremely cheap property purchase price, right? And in the UK, there's a lot. There's some in Wales, there's some up north. And then what you're doing is effectively doing a heavy market due diligence on the short-term rental side, which is effectively to turn your property into Airbnb and booking.com, and eventually be confident enough to turn it into a short-term rental with the investment looking to make you double the profit every year. So like, look, there's numbers of clients in the last few weeks. We've worked with Nikki, Victor, which as the way the run rate's going right now for them, from a purchase to short-term rental properties, they're all looking to make double the profit in their first year from what they would actually if they would have let it as a standard let. So you can see how if you buy the property right in the right price, you then turn them into short-term rent with a great strategy in place. Because look, our clients are looking for longer term stay clients only, so that effectively you're not worried about those 2-3 night stay. You are going to get some very successful profits over the years to come, eventually making your purchase extremely worthwhile. Look, so if you're new to this channel, my name is Piers from GrowYourBnb.com. Today's video was a bit more of a nutshell of how you can buy a property or cheap property. I've done numbers of videos to find or how to find properties using Rightmove if you're in the UK. Similar way you can use the method into your investment area and your country, and eventually walk away with a lot of knowledge around direct bookings, marketing around getting you those long-term booking in your short-term rental properties. Now, thank you so much for watching another Grow Your BNB video. We will be back with another video soon. For now, please make sure you hit that like, subscribe and share.